Over 350 Allied aircraft destroyed, 5 pilots. All of them flew the Mitsubishi A6M0, one of the most feared fighters of the Pacific War. A plane with no armor, no self-sealing fuel tanks, no protection whatsoever for the pilot. One bullet in the right place, and the Zero became a fireball. Most Japanese fighter pilots did not survive their first year of combat. By 1944, Japan was throwing barely trained teenagers into cockpits and sending them on suicide missions. The men on this list were different. They were the elite. They fought from the opening day of the war to the last. The number one was called the Devil by his own comrades and killed more Allied aircraft than any Japanese pilot in history. Then he was shot down while sitting unarmed in a transport plane. These are the 5 most lethal Japanese fighter pilots of World War II, ranked by confirmed kills. But first, if you want to see more stories like this, hit that subscribe button right now. We start with Satoru Anabuki. 51 confirmed kills. He is the only pilot on this list who rammed a 4-engine bomber and lived. Satoru Anabuki was born in 1921 and joined the Imperial Japanese Army Air Force in 1938. Unlike most aces on this list, Anabuki flew for the Army, not the Navy. He was assigned to the 50th Sentai and saw his first combat over the Philippines in the early months of the war. It was in Burma where Anabuki became a legend. Between December 1942 and May 1943, he shot down 35 Allied aircraft over the jungles of Southeast Asia. His best single day of combat came on the 8th of October 1943. On that day, Anabuki shot down 2 P-38 Lightning twin-engine fighters and 2 B-24 Liberator heavy bombers. Then he attacked a third B-24. He was out of ammunition. Instead of breaking off, Anabuki flew his fighter directly into the bomber. He rammed it. The B-24 went down. Anabuki's aircraft was severely damaged, but still flying. He nursed it back to base and landed. No other living Japanese Army pilot had ever been given a personal citation from the High Command. Anabuki received a citation. He continued fighting as the war turned against Japan. When B-29 superfortresses began bombing the Japanese mainland, Anabuki intercepted them. He shot down a B-29 and 6 more fighters during the final months of the war. He survived and lived into old age. His legacy was proving that aggression, pushed to the absolute limit, could overcome impossible odds. If Anabuki was aggression, the next pilot was endurance. He was shot in the head over Guadalcanal. He was blinded in one eye and paralyzed down one side of his body. Then he flew 640 miles back to base with no canopy and no depth perception. His name was Saburo Sakai. Saburo Sakai was born in 1916 into a family descended from samurai. He joined the Imperial Japanese Navy at the age of 16 and graduated first in his flight training class, receiving a silver watch from Emperor Hirohito himself. By the time the war began, Sakai was already a veteran of combat over China. On the 8th of December 1941, hours after Pearl Harbor, Sakai flew one of 45 Zeros from the Tainan Air Group that attacked Clark Air Base in the Philippines, the longest fighter mission ever attempted at the time, over 1,100 miles round trip. He shot down a P-40 Warhawk on the first day. 2 days later, he shot down a B-17 Flying Fortress. Over the next 8 months, Sakai fought across the Dutch East Indies, New Guinea, and the Solomon Islands, becoming one of Japan's most feared aces. He was part of the legendary Tainan Air Group, which produced more aces than any other unit in the Japanese military. On the 7th of August 1942, everything changed over Guadalcanal. Sakai misidentified a group of SBD Dauntless dive bombers as fighters and attacked from below. The rear gunners opened fire. A .30 caliber bullet struck him in the head, shattering his goggles and blinding him in his right eye. Glass fragments reduced the vision in his left eye to almost nothing. The left side of his body went numb. His Zero rolled into a dive. Sakai considered crashing into an enemy ship as a final act of defiance. Then the cold air cleared his remaining eye just enough to see. He realized he had enough fuel to reach Rabaul. What followed was one of the most extraordinary flights in aviation history. Sakai flew 640 miles back to base, blind in one eye, nearly blind in the other, flying upside down periodically to keep blood from pooling in his good eye. The flight lasted 4 hours and 47 minutes. When he landed, he refused medical treatment until he had delivered his mission report. Doctors told him he would never fly again. He proved them wrong. Sakai returned to combat in 1944, still blind in one eye, and continued shooting down American aircraft over Iwo Jima. On one occasion, he mistook 15 Hellcat fighters for friendly aircraft and found himself in a 20-minute dogfight against all of them. He escaped without a scratch. By the end of the war, Sakai had 64 confirmed kills. He never lost a wingman. After the surrender, Sakai became a Buddhist and vowed never to harm another living thing. He befriended several of his former enemies, including Harold Jones, the gunner who had shot him over Guadalcanal. He died of a heart attack in 2000 at the age of 84, while attending a dinner at a US naval base in Japan as an honored guest. If Sakai survived the impossible, the next pilot was killed before he ever got the chance to tell his story. 70 confirmed kills, dead at 22, 2 months before Japan surrendered. Shoichi Sugita was born in 1924 and joined the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service as a teenager. He was assigned to the 204th Air Group and then the 263rd Air Group, flying Zeros in some of the most intense air battles of the Pacific War. Sugita was fast, instinctive, and aggressive. He did not stalk his enemies from a distance. He closed to point-blank range and fired in short, devastating bursts. By 1944, Sugita had become one of the most accomplished aces in the Japanese Navy, with a confirmed kill count climbing past 60. Some sources credit him with as many as 120 claimed kills, though the confirmed figure stands at 70. As the war turned decisively against Japan, Sugita was transferred to the defense of the home islands. On the 15th of April 1945, just 4 months before Japan's surrender, Sugita was killed in action during an American air raid. He was 22 years old. He never wrote a memoir. He never gave an interview. He left behind almost nothing except a kill count that placed him among the 3 deadliest fighter pilots Japan ever produced. If Sugita left no record, the next pilot left an extraordinary one. A personal diary claiming 202 kills. Historians have confirmed at least 80. He fought from the first day of the war in China to the last battles over Okinawa. His name was Tetsuzo Iwamoto, and the debate over his true kill count has never been settled. Tetsuzo Iwamoto was born in 1916 and joined the Imperial Japanese Navy in the mid-1930s. He saw his first aerial combat during the Second Sino-Japanese War, where he claimed 14 kills before the Pacific War even began. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Iwamoto was already a veteran. He flew from the carrier Zuikaku during the opening strikes of the war. Over the following 3 years, Iwamoto fought in nearly every major theater of the Pacific. He flew over Rabaul, the Solomons, the Philippines, and Okinawa. He was transferred between units constantly, wherever the fighting was heaviest. Iwamoto kept a meticulous personal diary throughout the war, in which he recorded every engagement and every kill. The diary claims 202 aerial victories. Historians, cross-referencing Allied loss records and adjusting for the overclaiming common to all air forces during the war, have confirmed at least 80. Even at that lower figure, Iwamoto ranks as the second highest-scoring Japanese ace of the entire war. His technique relied on exceptional gunnery skills. He was particularly effective with the 30-kilogram aerial bomb, a difficult weapon to deploy accurately from a fighter, which he used against both aircraft and ground targets. Iwamoto survived the war. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he did not die in a kamikaze mission or a last-ditch defense. He returned to civilian life in Japan. He died in 1955 at the age of 38. The cause of his death is not well documented. His diary, published after his death, remains one of the most detailed and controversial primary sources on Japanese aerial combat in the Pacific War. But the deadliest Japanese fighter pilot of World War II was none of these men. He was called the Devil by his own squadron mates. He performed aerobatics over enemy airfields for fun. He killed 87 Allied aircraft, and he died unarmed, sitting in a transport plane, shot down by American fighters he could not fight back against. October 1944. The Philippines. The Japanese Empire is collapsing. American forces are closing in. At an airfield on Cebu, a gaunt, pale, malaria-ridden pilot has just volunteered to escort the first organized kamikaze mission in history. His name is Hiroyoshi Nishizawa. He is 24 years old. He has been fighting since 1942. He has shot down more Allied aircraft than any other Japanese pilot alive. After escorting the kamikaze planes to their targets, Nishizawa returns to base. The next morning, the 26th of October, 1944, he boards a transport aircraft to fly to another airfield. He has no fighter. He is just a passenger. American Hellcats intercept the transport. Nishizawa cannot fight back. There are no weapons on board. The transport is shot down. Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, the deadliest fighter ace in Japanese history, dies without firing a shot. Nishizawa was born in 1920 and enlisted in the Imperial Japanese Navy in 1936. He was assigned to the Tainan Air Group, the same legendary unit that produced Saburo Sakai. Sakai, himself one of Japan's top aces, described Nishizawa as the greatest pilot he had ever seen. He wrote that Nishizawa's aerobatics were breathtaking, brilliant, totally unpredictable, impossible, and heart-stirring to witness. Nishizawa's squadron mates called him the Devil, not as an insult, but because of his ferocity in the air. He was gaunt, quiet, and ravaged by tropical diseases. On the ground, he barely spoke. In the cockpit, he was untouchable. His most famous stunt came on the 17th of May, 1942, over Port Moresby, New Guinea. After a combat mission, Nishizawa and two wingmen, Sakai and Toshio Ota, decided to perform 3 tight loops in close formation directly over the Allied airfield. Then they did 3 more. No anti-aircraft fire came up. The next day, an Allied bomber flew over the Japanese airfield at Leh and dropped a note thanking them for the aerial demonstration and promising them a warm reception if they tried it again. Their commanding officer was furious. They did not care. Nishizawa fought over Rabaul, over Guadalcanal, and over the Solomons, racking up kills at a pace that stunned even Japanese commanders. In one 72-hour period, he claimed 6 kills. His confirmed total reached 87, making him the highest-scoring Japanese ace of the war. Some sources suggest his actual tally may have been well over 100. He was awarded the Order of the Golden Kite. He was considered irreplaceable. And then he was killed sitting in a seat he could not fight from. He was 24. 5 pilots. Over 350 confirmed kills. Anabuki, 51. Sakai, 64. Sugita, 70. Iwamoto, 80. Nishizawa, 87. All 5 flew the Zero, a plane built for speed and agility, at the cost of any protection for the pilot. All 5 fought in a war their country was losing. 2 survived. 3 were killed. The deadliest Japanese fighter ace in history was a malaria-ridden loner who could barely stand on the ground. But he was untouchable in the air. He died unarmed in a transport plane at 24. His wingmate called him the greatest pilot he had ever seen. If you enjoyed this ranking, smash that like button right now and subscribe for more insane World War II stories you won't believe are true. Drop a comment and tell us which pilot shocked you the most.